ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm gonna kind of break into something new and try doing a book review. So I just finished listening to the Darth Plagueis audiobook. I started doing this because a group of content creators that I watch, they have been doing a book club for Darth Plagueis. So I'll link that in the description below if you're interested. But I wanted to talk about this book because it has turned out to be one of my favorite Star Wars books. So this is going to be as spoiler free as I can make it. I'm going to be very general because I don't want to give away huge plot points, although some you can probably gather just from what we know in the prequels. So a brief overview. This is a James Luceno book, came out around 2012, and it is broken into 3 big parts. It's around 379 pages, but if you do the audiobook, that's going to be 14 hours and 45 minutes if you do not speed up how fast it's reading to you. As far as the Star Wars timeline goes, this book is going to take place from 67 BBY, so before the Battle of Yavin, essentially 67 years before A New Hope, all the way up to 32 years before the Battle of Yavin, or before Episode 4, A New Hope, which, if you're not aware, that is the exact same time as The Phantom Menace. So that's the timeline. We're going around 30 years before The Phantom Menace, all the way up to The Phantom Menace. And I will just say, if you are into the politics of the prequel trilogy, because the prequel trilogy really is a political trilogy, it shows us how we get to what happened in 4, 5, and 6, then you are going to love this book. It is very political. You still get all the Force, the Sith, the Jedi, dark side, all the action that you like in Star Wars, it's there. But the political undertones, they're not really undertones. They are overtones in this book, in this novel. It is extremely political because, as you know, that's how Palpatine kind of rolled. He was a political guy. He was a senator. I thought one of the most interesting parts of this book was the fact that we start with a young Palpatine, which we don't see on screen, and it takes us all the way up to how he becomes the senator and the Sith Lord and ultimately the Emperor that we know in the prequel trilogy. So if you are a Palpatine fan like I am, this book is going to take you, it's essentially a Palpatine origin story. But the namesake of the book is Darth Plagueis. So what this book is going to do, it's going to start, those 67 years before the Battle of Yavin, 35-ish years before the Phantom Menace, and we are going to go from Darth Plagueis as an apprentice all the way up to Darth Plagueis as a master with his apprentice Palpatine. That's not a spoiler, we know that, and we are going to see just how this rise to power for Palpatine happens, all the way from apprentice up to Sith Master. That's really the direction this book takes. So if you remember that scene in episode 3 where Palpatine asks Anakin, have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? This book is the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. We learn about Plagueis' master, Darth Tenebris. We learn just how powerful Plagueis is. We get his fixation on cloning and immortality, all things that we already knew. It just takes it into a lot further detail. We get a huge expansion on our Sith knowledge in this book. It's a little bit of a history book with little tidbits thrown here and there. So if you're interested in that, this book is definitely going to be good for you. We get a little bit of Darth Maul's backstory, since this does lead us up to the Phantom Menace. We learn a lot about the trade federations, about how all the strings are pulled to get all of this set up for our prequel trilogy. We get Dooku, we hear about Padme, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Master Sifo Dyas. There's a lot of prequel name drops in this book that is really going to enhance your prequel viewing experience if you take this book as canon. It's not canon, it's legends, but in my head it is canon now. I really like this book. But the coolest part about this book to me, and this may be the most spoilery part, but it directly overlaps with the Phantom Menace. So there are going to be Phantom Menace scenes in this book, and we are going to get the Plagueis side of this. So it's going to add to these scenes as you watch The Phantom Menace. So if you love The Phantom Menace, this is probably going to make you love it even more. And if you're kind of like me and you enjoy it, but it's not your favorite Star Wars movie, it is definitely going to enhance that experience because there's just a lot going on that we have no clue about on screen. As far as breaking down parts 1, 2, and 3, I will say part 1 did not excite me as much as parts 2 and 3, as part 1 is mainly very Plagueis heavy, but as we move forward we get more into Palpatine's story, which is what interests me. But as a whole, this book is excellent. I would probably rate it an 8.5, 9 out of 10. I'm not much of a reader. It was pretty long for me to read. That's why I listened to it, and I did a lot better listening to it. It's a great book. I don't read a lot, but this one really drew me in. I think I finished this in around 8 to 10 days. It was a pretty quick read for me as a non-reader. So definitely check this book out. I'll drop an Amazon link below if you want to order it. I'll get a small commission if you order through that link. Or if you are more interested in listening, and I am in no way affiliated or getting any kickback from this, but the Libby app, if you're in the United States, this partners with your local library. You can download it, and then there's free books, audiobooks. I never pay for books anymore or audiobooks, so I'll drop a link to that as well so you can check that app out. And again, I'm not affiliated with that at all. I just really enjoy it and would like for you to know this resource as well if you don't. So check this book out, read it, come back, comment, let me know what you think about it. If you've already read it, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Let me know what your opinion of this book is, and catch one of these 2 videos next.